So the battle lines are drawn. The gulf between the newspaper industry and the politicians' plans for regulating them is yawning ever wider. Channel 4 News can exclusively reveal tonight that the vast majority of newspaper publishers are turning their back on the government's Royal Charter. Instead, they're setting up their own press standards body. The newspapers say they are carrying out nearly all of the recommendations made by Lord Leveson in his report into press standards. But they're still planning to give editors a role in selecting the regulators. Critics say that means they'll still be marking their own homework, as our business correspondent Siobhan Kennedy now reports.
It was this headline that changed everything. The revelation that the News of the World had hacked the missing teenager Millie Dowler's phone. Her parents demanded tough new rules to curb Britain's press. It would lead to the shuttering of the newspaper and bring the world's most powerful media mogul to his knees.
This is the most humble day of my life.
Yet 2 years on and one expensive public inquiry later, today the newspapers are preparing to go it alone. Unable to reach an agreement with politicians, they're pressing ahead with their own new regulator.
Almost the entire press is involved in it, and we can set it up at the same time while the politicians argue over what sort of recognition body supervises it.
Do you not think it would have been better, though, to have tried to wait for some form of compromise that would have been agreeable to all, not least the eyes of the public?
Well, the danger is it's almost a year since the Leveson report, and we just want to get on with it.
But as the newspapers are heading in one direction, the politicians, meanwhile, are going in the other. They're pressing ahead with their plans to ask the Queen to sign a royal charter that would give its seal of approval to any new regulatory body. But controversially, critics say, would also give politicians the power to meddle. It was during a cosy late-night meeting over pizza earlier this year that the idea of a royal charter was agreed in Ed Miliband's office. Present too were Conservatives, Liberal Democrats and the pressure group Hacked Off. But the press weren't invited. The papers have tried to adapt the charter to exclude political interference, but failed. And with no compromise in sight, they say the new regulator is a strong replacement for the old Press Complaints Commission. It will enforce fines of up to £1 million, insist on prominent corrections and apologies, and include an investigative arm. But editors will have a hand in appointing the regulators.
How can the outcome of Leveson and everything that's happened be that editors are still involved in the regulatory body in appointing the people that will be regulating those very same editors?
But we are following exactly what Lord Justice Leveson recommended. He proposed that editors should be involved in this process. So there's nothing different there. And you've got to remember, this is self-regulation. You can't exclude editors from the process of helping set it up. It is self-regulation. It is not political regulation.
What's your message to the victims who'll be worried, perhaps, that this new body isn't going to be strong enough?
My personal message is wait and see when this regulator gets set up. If it satisfies you, which we believe it will, you'll accept that a form of self-regulation has now been adopted by the press that proves we've taken the whole Millie Dowler episode incredibly seriously.
But opponents say it's more of the same.
They've never commanded any public trust because what they do is they set up a system that puts their interests before those of the public. That's what I'm afraid we're going to see again. And if we were to allow this to go on, we would end up back where we started, with the Millie Dowler affair, with all the abuses, the McCann affair, so forth, all the abuses that made the Leveson inquiry necessary.
Those abuses will be laid bare again next week as Rebecca Brooks, one of Murdoch's closest lieutenants, and Andy Coulson, David Cameron's former press chief, are due to take the stand at the start of the hacking trial at the Old Bailey in London.